Okay guys, in this video we're going to discuss the 4 advantages of butterfly half. So the first advantage that I have compared to regular half guard is the position of my top leg. So in regular half guard, if I keep this leg where it is, he can fall back on a toe hold, okay, or he can fall back on the legs in some other way. Okay. So once I put this hook in, that hides that leg from that position. The second advantage I have is my ability to recover from a flattened position. So Harjot's goal is to get head and arm so he can pass. In a regular half guard, I can't use my legs to push him away. With this hook, I can use it to push him away and break off from this position so that I can recover backwards. Okay, so I'm going to use that, boom, and that power that I'm drawing with my legs, which is one of the strongest parts of my body, is being able to be utilized, which means the head and arm is not as strong for Harjot. If I don't have this, he gets head and arm and I get flattened out. Now, I have to recover some sort of leg position in order to move backwards, okay? It's not impossible, but this is the advantage I have with the butterfly hook. If the butterfly hook's already in, I don't have to make that leg recovery. Okay? The next advantage I have is my ability to forward shift my opponent. So if Jot's getting too close to me, I can use this leg to push him back. Okay? And then my last advantage is my ability to elevate Jot. Okay? So I can elevate him this way using this hook. I can elevate him this way using the hook. I can elevate him backwards or elevate him this way. Okay, so those are my 4 advantages. 1, I'm preventing the leg locks from happening. 2, I'm able to recover backwards from a failed position. 3, I can forward shift my opponent. And 4, I can elevate. Okay guys, the next section we're going to do is fundamental positions when you're in butterfly half guard. Okay. So very important is this bottom hook. The bottom hook needs to be around his calf and it also needs to be retracted. So I'm pulling into him, okay? The second top hook is going to be hooked and on his thigh, and I want to have this knee inflected outwards, okay? The more that this knee comes towards the other knee, the more likely I'm going to get flattened out. So I bring it in here, he goes to flatten me out, and then now I'm just basically in a leg drag type position. Okay, let's scoot this way a little bit. Okay, so retracted hook, elevated hook, inflected outwards. Okay, the next fundamental position is going to be my arm position. Okay, so I want this arm, I want to be on the elbow on this arm. Okay, so if I'm here, I'm much closer to being flattened out. So I want to get up onto this elbow so that I can prevent the flattening out from happening. Okay, so the higher I am on this elbow, the more likely it is I'm going to be able to bother him. Okay, if I can, I might even get up to a hand. Okay, notice how he started off shifting his balance there because I'm on my hand, so I'm pushing into him more. If I go back down onto my shoulder, I'm one step closer to him getting head and arm, which is his goal. Okay, so I get up onto my elbow, I grab the shoulder with my hand, and I'm using this left hand to bother him, okay? So what do I want to do with this left hand? I want to take this hand and place it directly on his shoulder, okay? And then I'm going to use this elbow and lift this elbow to the air, which is going to start to bother him even more, okay? So it's almost like a choking position right on his windpipe, okay? So this is where I would rather be in this position. This bottom hook is retracted, this left knee is faced outwards, this hand is pushing outwards towards him. I'm up on either my elbow or my hand, and I'm using this hook to bother him however that may be, okay? So that's, and then the last portion is where I want my head position. So he wants his head on my far side shoulder so he can flatten me out. So let's say I drop this hand position, he's gonna start using his head to push my shoulders to the mat, and then he's one step closer to passing my guard. So I want the opposite of that. So I'm taking my hand, placing it on his shoulder, taking my elbow, bothering him, and then also using my head to get an inside position with the head, okay? So now it's gonna be way more difficult for him to flatten me out because I'm trying to win the head position fight. So we're gonna be fighting for this. He's trying to pummel his head to the inside, which is an advantage for him, and I'm trying to pummel my head to the inside, which is an advantage for me, okay? And that's it for the fundamentals of this position. Okay guys, the first technique that we're going to show is called the Sumigaeshi sweep. So I'm in butterfly half guard. Okay. So one of the other fundamentals that we forgot to mention in the previous video is my control of his bicep. Okay. This is similar to regular half guard in that Harjot wants to grab my head. Okay. If I don't have control of this bicep, then he's just going to grab it however he wants. Okay. So that's for the first part of the head and arm control is grabbing the head. Second part is he's grabbing the underhook. Okay. Boom. So if I'm preventing his bicep from coming towards me, then that's going to be an advantage for me. So to get into the Sumigaeshi, I have to build my way up. Okay. So I'm going to take this hand and I'm going to place it on his shoulder here. The second hand, now that it's on his shoulder and he can't come towards me, like try to grab my head, okay, that's going to prevent him from coming towards me. The second hand's going to go up and I'm going to use that to rock onto my elbow, like this, okay? So now I'm coming towards him. I had the grip on his shoulder. I'm off balancing him, making it difficult for him to come towards me. Now, I'm gonna feed my elbow down underneath him, okay? And I can kind of pop him to bother him a little bit, and then I'm gonna use this elbow to come underneath. So I bring the elbow underneath, and I'm gonna go towards my underhook, okay? There's 3 types of underhooks that we have in butterfly, half butterfly. The first one is a low underhook, okay? The second one is a high underhook near side shoulder, and the third one is high underhook far side shoulder. So for this Sumigaeshi sweep, we want to do high underhook far side shoulder. Now, it's very common for people to grab your wrist when you're in this position. So sometimes I'll be in a match and the guy for the whole match is trying to grab my wrist. So when he does that, I'm going to take this hand and I'm going to pummel it to the inside and grab his wrist, okay? So now, my intention is to fire this wrist towards his tummy, okay? So I'm going to turn it and fire it towards the stomach. This second hand, I'm going to use this to curl his shoulders downwards. So I want to create an off balance, and I do that with my elbow. So I have this hand here, and I'm starting to turn. See how he's turned here? Okay, so this is what I want to do with this underhook side. Okay, this one is going to fire towards his stomach. My bottom foot is going to dig into the mat, and we'll show you that in the second iteration. So I'm going to drop to my shoulder, pull this up, fire this towards the belly, and then use my bottom leg to start bringing my hips towards him. So I push, and then I use my bottom leg here to start working my way in. And then preferably I want to be on knee on belly here. Okay. So let's do it this way. Okay. So what's going on with this hook here? So this hook's retracted. I'm grabbing his shoulder. I take this arm. I start building my way up. Okay. And I'm in the position. I use my top frame to off balance him a bit and then bring this elbow in first. This comes over and then I'm rounding the shoulders. Okay. Now I drop and watch what happens to this foot here. The foot drops and I start using it to draw power from the mat. Okay. I pummel, grab the wrist, fire his hand into his stomach, and then use this to push my way towards him. Okay, last angle. Retracted hook. Secondary hook. Knee is on the outside. Controlling the bicep from coming towards me. Grab up top. Second arm, rocked up. Start to off balance. Use that to bring my elbow on the inside. Elbow comes to the inside, hand follows. Carjo grabs my wrist. I pummel to the inside, grab his wrist, push his wrist into his stomach, take my legs, start drawing power from the mat, and start bringing my hips towards him. Okay? So, just by myself, one of the most important parts is what do I do with this leg? Okay? So I'm off balancing, I get to the underhook, I fire this towards the stomach. So the wrist goes towards the stomach, and then this leg comes in, and I start bringing my hips towards him. So this comes up, 1, 2, 3, and he turns up, and preferably I get to knee on belly. And that's it for the first technique. All right, guys, next what we're gonna do is study what to do when your opponent posts their hand on the mat and make it difficult for you to pull it to get them off balance. So I'm in butterfly half guard. I have my retracted hook. I have my butterfly hook. My knee is on the outside as always, and I'm monitoring his bicep to prevent him from grabbing my head. I move my hand up to the shoulder. I take my arm out, and I rock my way up. Now, I'm going to punch my elbow in so that I can get to my underhook. So I punch my elbow in first, and then my underhook comes. Now, in the previous one, I had my hand out, he grabs my hand. I use this to punch it into his stomach. But I've rolled with him a few times, and so now he's wise to the situation, and he doesn't want to grab my hand. He keeps it somewhat back. When this happens, I'm gonna drop my retracted hook underneath, and I'm gonna start punching my way towards him in search of his wrist. So I punch my mask towards him, and I grab the wrist, okay? This is gonna create an off balance, and he knows this. If I keep punching him this way, then I'm just gonna mow him right over. So he decides he's gonna start bringing his mask back into me. As he does, I punch his wrist into his stomach for the sweep. Actually, let's go this way. Okay. I get up, I punch my elbow underneath. I bring this through. Okay? He hides. And I'm going to start bringing my mass into him. Okay? So I can stay on my elbow, or I can build up to my hand, and then I go and I grab the wrist. He starts bringing his mass back into me. As he does, I punch his hand into the wrist, and I bring him over, get onto my knee on belly, and now I'm trying to solidify for 3 so that I can get a 4-point. 2 points for the knee on belly, 2 points for the sweep. One more. So this section really highlights the fact that what we're trying to do is bring his mass onto us, okay? So what I want for the sweep is for him to bring his mass this way, okay? So I come into the underhook, okay? And now his mass is too far that way. He's posting into his hand. So now I'm gonna threaten him with an off balance. And I'm using the action-reaction method, okay? So I start punching into him, I grab his wrist. He reacts and brings himself into me, and I use that for the sweep. And that is using the action-reaction method to punch, to off-weight that hand, and so we can. Okay guys, in this video we're going to discuss what to do when your opponent allows you to push him almost completely over. So I have my butterfly half, everything's the same. I'm monitoring the biceps, going straight up to the shoulder, using my elbow to push his head away. I get up to my own elbow, very important, because it allows me to push into him. Now I drop my elbow, punch my underhook up, grab the far side shoulder. Now, in the last 2 videos, the first one, he grabs my wrist and I pummel through, push it through, okay? Second one, I have to push to grab the wrist, he pushes back, and I hit the sweep. In this one, we're gonna cover what to do if he allows me to almost push him over. So I'm gonna heist up on my knee in this one. So I bring my knee out, okay? And now I'm into a position where I can tap the knee. This is called a knee tap. It's similar to the knee tap in wrestling. So I grab the side of his knee and I start to pull it in as I drive into him. So I drive into him, and it puts me straight into a knee cut position. So now I have the knee cut and the underhook. So I'm gonna cut through, grab the head, and solidify. Punch the underhook. Now I'm in the underhook. I take my retracted hook and let it out. I start to heist up and go to knock him over. As I knock him over, if I feel like he's not pushing back into me, I grab the knee, punch through for the underhook, or for the knee cut. I have the underhook already, so that's going to allow me to get straight to the head and arm. Now anytime I'm in the head and arm, I'm going to gable grip, and then I'm going to bring my head to the mat and start to cross face and pin him. Last time. go to mow him over. I realize that he's allowing me to almost push him over. As I do that, I'm driving my head in to knock him completely over, and then I'm pulling his knee, which is a form of base for him. So I pull the knee, and I shoot this knee straight into the knee cut position. Pulling, slicing my knee through, and going straight for the head and arm. Pin my shoulder to his chin, and bring my head to the mat. Okay, so that is the first part of this video. The second part of this video, we're gonna do what to do when he actually pushes us back once we're on our knee. So I have the butterfly half, I build my way up, I punch the underhook, I drop. I intend to heist straight up to my knee. So I get up to the knee and I start to drive in. Sometimes guys feel threatened here and they don't want you to push straight into the knee cut. So he's gonna start to push me back, okay? As he pushes me back, I grab the elbow, I fall back down to my shoulder, and I cut. Now I'm gonna try to solidify my knee on belly points. So I'm gonna have a post here. I'm gonna drive my knee into his stomach, and then I'm gonna hold for 3. If I hold for 3 seconds, that's 4 points. One more. Retracted hook, butterfly hook. Grab the shoulder, drive. Punch that elbow through, grab the far side shoulder. I'm up on my hand, okay? I take my butterfly hook, my retracted hook out, and I heist up. I go to drive him over. He pushes back, I grab his elbow, fall to my shoulder, and start to drive up into my cut. And then from this angle, 1, 2, 3. Up onto my hand, 4, heisting up. Using my good head position, just like in wrestling, to drive. He pushes back into me, I grab that elbow. I fall back in, and I come up. Solidify my knee on belly points. And now we're up 4 points. Okay guys, welcome to the gi portion of this video. We're going to start by going over some gi fundamentals with butterfly half guard. Okay. So when I'm in the gi, I also need to be very mindful of where I want this knee position. Okay. So the difference is mostly in the gi is of course the fact that we can grip our partner. Okay. So when I grip him, I'm going to grip on the underside. Okay. And I use the torque that I get from grabbing the gi to drive my elbow into my partner's neck. Okay. So similarly, the fact that I have this frame on him is going to prevent him from grabbing his own underhook, and it's going to also prevent him from grabbing the head. Okay, he can't. Okay, so similarly to no-gi, I'm going to build my base up, and I'm going to frame into my partner. Okay, I have my retracted hook, and then this hook stays on the outside. Okay, if I feel like my partner wants to weave his arm through, I'm going to use my elbow to frame on my knee. Okay, so if I don't use my elbow to frame on the knee, he's going to be able to smash my knee down. So I use my elbow to frame. Okay, makes it difficult for him to collapse the knee. Now, also an advantage here is the fact that I can grip this sleeve, and I can use the structure of my skeleton to basically get in front of him. So I'm locking my elbow and I'm punching through. Now if he wants to try to start to get towards my head to grab my head, I'm using that. And then I'm using this elbow to prevent the collapse. Okay, so I'm not using a ton of energy here, but I'm able to use my frames to keep him off me. Now I wish to go for the sweep. So the first sweep is going to be the underhook sweep. So now I'm going to get up onto my elbow and to try to start punching the underhook. I use this collar grip and I can kind of drop it just a bit so that I can bring my elbow underneath. Once my elbow is underneath, it's a way quicker track to grabbing the underhook, okay? So I have my elbow in and now I just simply drop the sleeve and I go straight to the belt. So we're gonna change the angle here. So I'm grabbing as far on this belt as possible, okay? If my partner is weighing down onto my shoulder, I'm gonna shuck him to get his shoulder off of my shoulder, okay? So now I'm in a position where I can grab the sweep. Harjo decides to base onto this hand, okay? So if I just start pulling, I'm not gonna be able to pull it. So now I'm gonna weight myself into him so that I can rip, and now I can literally just pull backwards. Pulling back, and now I can start the sweep. I base my toes into the mat, I start bringing my way up, boom, 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 and I come through, okay? So now we're gonna talk about the advantages of the gi, being the fact that I can keep this knee on the outside, which it makes it much more likely for me to grab the mount, okay? So I'm here, okay, I'm framed, I have the other frame, I decide to rock up, get my elbow underneath, okay, and I'm gonna swing in to grab my underhook. He waits onto my shoulder, so now I'm gonna shuck him until he can get from my arm to my shoulder, which is, I can bear his weight a lot more on my shoulder than I can on my triceps. So he's on my shoulder, okay? Now look at the position of my knee. So this knee is almost already into a mount position. And when I grab this underhook, I can kind of pull him and cement this knee right into that position. So now I let go of my retracted hook, I start pushing on him, and I pull. Now this knee stays on the outside. So now I bring my hips into him, and it lands me perfectly in the mount. From here, I'm gonna start swimming over top and trying to get to my head and arm position. One last time. Retracted hook, butterfly hook. Grab my lapel, start to bother. Grab my sleeve on the far side. Now I can drop and bring my elbow in. Once my elbow comes in, I grab all the way to the belt. Okay? From here, I make sure that this knee stays on the outside as much as possible. I drop my hook and I start to base into him. I pull and I start to elevate my hips and bring my way into him. And because I'm pulling with my belt grip, I end up in the mount position. From here, I'm pummeling through, grabbing. If he keeps his whizzer on, then I'm going to go straight to a double chest wrap. And that's your fundamentals and the underhook half guard, butterfly half guard sweep. All right, guys. Now we're gonna move from the underhook style sweep to the overhook style sweep. Okay, so everything's still the same. I have my grips. I start coming up and I go to the underhook, but he's really making it difficult for me, so I can't get my elbow in. All right, so from here, I'm gonna use this grip that I have on him, and I'm gonna pull him as much as I can towards his head, towards my chest. From there, I go from the sleeve grip, and I grab the back of his head. If I can, I'm gonna grab here, and I'm gonna push it down as much as I can. He's likely gonna grab his own underhook, which is kind of what he wants if he has me flattened out, okay? It's gonna be difficult for him to flatten me out because of my knee position. Now, I grab the overback grip onto his belt, okay? And I try to get good head position here. Now, the sweep is gonna be almost identical. So I push my head into him, okay? And I take the weight off of his hand, okay? Rather than punch up into his stomach, I'm just gonna pull back, okay? And again, because I have this grip here, I'm able to use that grip to pull him down, which is gonna allow my knee to come in, okay? So I get his head to the mat, my shoulder comes to the mat, I dig my toes into the ground, and then I come over top. Grabbing the cross face, punching up, and getting into my single chest wrap. I rock up, grab that sleeve, try to punch in, but he's really preventing me from doing that. I pull his head down, reach over top, push his head down as much as I can, and then I grab the back belt grip, and then I use that belt grip to pull myself into him and get my knee cemented to the side of his ribs. I start to off balance him, pull this grip, and then toes on the mat, elevate my hips, and bring him over. Grabbing my grip here, pummeling this through, and coming straight up. Last angle. And that is the overhook style sumigeshi from half butterfly. All right guys, in this video what we're gonna do is how to sweep using the knee push method, okay? So this knee push method is similar to like a full guard scissor sweep when you push the knee, okay? So I can actually hit this from any of my upper body variations. So if I want to get the underhook, I can hit it there. If I want to go to the overhook, I can hit it there. If he's got me flat down in head and arm, I can get it here too. Okay. So now, I'm going to choose the underhook method. Okay. So I grab the wrist, I come up, and I'm going to sweep him, okay? Now, sometimes these knees are wide and it's very difficult to actually get them to turn over. So when this happens, I'm gonna extend this out, bring my hips out, and I'm actually gonna put my foot on his knee here, okay? And then I'm gonna do the same stuff that I was doing before, okay? I'm gonna start to elevate, pull the arm, okay? And start to crowd my hips that way, but only after I push the hip, okay, or push the knee. This time I choose the overback grip. I'm on the belt, okay? I'm grabbing, okay? I extend this out, and that extension of the hook allows me to get up onto his knee, okay? Right away that pushes out. And I'm gonna come up on the hook. Okay, in this one, our Joe grabs the head and arm. Okay? Now, I'm gonna grab my grip on his armpit. Okay? I'm gonna grab my grip on his bicep. This one comes on the bicep. And then I'm gonna start to extend him out. Okay? As I extend him out, he kind of pulls on his leg. As he does, I kick the leg out. And I come up and over. So don't be afraid to retract that hook, and as it comes out, push that knee to get the sweep. And that is the knee push method of sweeping your opponent. Okay guys, so in this video we're going to do a different look on how to finish the underhook sweep. So there's different ways that people view this, and so we're going to try to give you both, and then you're going to decide which works best for you. This is called the push and retract method, and I actually really like it. Okay, so I've established my butterfly half. In this case, I'm gonna punch the underhook right away. And let's say I just kind of weaseled it in there, however, right? So now I'm gonna grab this wrist, and then from here, I'm gonna do the push, retract method, okay? So I'm gonna push this hook out, and as I push, I'm anchored onto his sleeve here. So I push it out, and then I retract this hook. Almost like the high step method that we saw in no-gi, okay? So you can drill this, and you're basically coming up onto your elbow, you're pushing this out and retracting the lower hook. So I push it out, and I retract. And instead of just dropping the hook, it's coming right out, so that I have a bit better of an angle to perform the sweep, okay? So in the previous method, we were just dropping the hook. So we don't necessarily have to push, pull, retract. We're here, we've got the sleeve, we're ready to go for the sweep, and we just drop it, okay? The second method, we have to push, pull, retract, okay? So I'm pushing out, okay? Pulling this through, retracting the foot, and then from here, I'm gonna have a grip on his wrist. And I'm following him up because I'm gonna come up onto my toes here. So with this grip on the wrist, he's not really gonna be able to pull it much further, okay? So I'm not worried about him posting. So I power off the mat, come up, and then I start looking for my head and arm control, okay? Second angle. Okay, I can kind of angle my knee here, come through, get up to my elbow. I'm grabbing on the wrist, okay? Now, I'm gonna push this out and retract. So I push my butterfly hook out and I retract this foot, okay? Pulling up and falling, okay? So without our jolt here, we're gonna push this out, retract this, and then use that to follow up on him. Okay? One more time. Have my retracted hook. punching this through. Okay, push, retract, and follow up. And that's the retracted method of hitting this sweep. Thanks. All right, guys, so we've covered both the basic sweeps, and now we're going to get into what to do when your opponent raises his base. Okay? So it's probably best to do it from here. Okay, so in a perfect world, I get this overback grip on the belt, I'm pulling him in, I grab, I base, I pull him down, and I go for the sweep. But now, I grab my sleeve grip, and Joe knows that I want to sweep him, so he's going to start to base into me here. Okay? So now, I have this elevated hook. I'm going to try to elevate him here. But as I do it, I'm going to do almost like a Homer Simpson style moving like forward shrimp through the mats. So I'm going to grab base off of the mats, and I'm going to start pushing my hips into them here. Okay? And I sweep through. So essentially, without jolt, what I'm doing is he bases up, this hook starts to extend, and then I have to walk my base into him. So it's a similar style sweep, but I really need to keep walking into him until I can get his hips to turn. So I'm doing this, and then I'm turning. Here. Grabbing, pulling him in, grabbing my overback grip. Okay, he goes to base. Now if he bases with his hand on the mat, I keep my grip here, okay? As soon as his grip comes off the mat, I'm gonna try to punch it to his stomach. But I can't just do that right now because he's got so much base into the mat. So I have to start elevating him with my elevator hook, and I use this bottom hook to base into the mat. See, now his hand is off the mat, and I can get the sweep pretty easily. One more. Pulling Joe's head into me, coming to the back, grabbing all the way. So now I've got his belt grip, he bases up. Okay? So similar, but I'm facing into the mat here with my foot, drawing power from the mat, and I start bringing him in. Okay? That change in direction brings some weight off of his hand. I punch his hand into his stomach, and I get the sweep. So a common thread in this technique and all the other techniques is what to do when my partner bases. So similar to the no-gi variants and the gi variants, when he bases into his hand on his knees, he can also base like this, into it like an all fours position. So in every scenario, we need to figure out what we're gonna do with this hand. And if we do the Homer Simpson, it's gonna bring that hand off just a bit, which allows him to, me to push it in, he drops the shoulder, and then the sweep's there. And that is variant one of what to do when your partner bases. Okay guys, in the next video, what we're gonna do is the foot tap variation. So say I'm gonna be looking for the overback sweep, Harjot is going to base up onto all fours. I'm gonna elevate my hook into him, but rather than solely doing the Homer Simpson style forward shrimp, I'm gonna tap his foot, which is gonna allow me to off balance his base and then sweep him. So the overback style grip is more likely to get than the underhook. Because I'm going for the underhook, I'm trying to get it, and he's blocking me off. So it's very difficult for him to block me from going over the top, okay? So I'm gonna try to help myself a little bit by pulling him into me, okay? I go from there to the back, and then all the way to the belt grip, okay? I'm grabbing my sleeve, and then Joe, knowing that there's a potential for sweeps, is going to base up, okay? Now from here, I start my Homer Simpson style sweeping, but I use it just to get my foot onto his instep here, okay? So I have my grips, and then I'm pulling him through and getting to my sweep. One, two, trying to get to the underhook, he blocks me, pulling him into me, going to my overback grip, grabbing my sleeve. I go for the sweep, he bases up. I start working my way into him, and then I tap. And I come all the way over for the sweep. Pull in, grabbing, grab the back. Joe goes to get up. I start bringing my piece into him, grab that foot, and pull into the sweep. So sometimes it's hard to turn his hips over when we're going to the Homer Simpson style sweep. So if that's the case, we're gonna extend our foot, push our 2 feet together, and we're gonna finish the sweep that way. And that's the foot tap sweep. All right guys, in this video, we're gonna use the push, pull out, and retract method, okay? And we're gonna do it from the flattened head and arm, okay? So, I have my butterfly half, and for whatever reason, in the match, I made some mistakes, and Joe has me in head and arm, and I'm flattened out here, okay? This is obviously a horrible place to be for me, but because I have my butterfly hook, I'm in a way better situation than I would be in a regular half guard, okay? So what I'm gonna do is decide where I wanna grip, okay? If he has his belt, I'm gonna reach through and go all the way to the belt. That's the most powerful grip, okay? Secondly, if his belt came off in the match, I'm just gonna grab the material on his back, okay? And thirdly, in a no-gi scenario, I'm gonna reach over and grab his armpit, okay? On the second arm, I'm grabbing his bicep, okay? And I'm gonna use the push and retract method to be able to get up onto my side. So I push him here and I grab. So I'm grabbing his bicep and I'm grabbing his arm here, okay? Now, I use that push to be able to retract, and then from here, I'm gonna start to follow up on him, okay? So I start driving into him, and it puts me nicely into side control, okay? Oh no, he's grabbed head and arm, I'm flattened out. In this one, I can't find his belt, so I grab the material. Grab here, and then I extend that out, retract, and it puts me on my side, okay? I draw power from the mat, and then I start extending him out. Now notice, I have this butterfly hook here, and because of my position and where he is on my head and arm, I can just come through, and then I grab my own head and arm. Here, I start to get flattened out. This time, I'm able to reach all the way to the belt. Okay, I have the belt, I grab here, and I use this hook to start making him go this way. At the same time, I'm twisting so I can get onto my shoulder. 1, 2, foot comes out, and I start coming up, and then I'm gonna almost do like a back step all the way into side control. And I grab my own head and arm and start pinning him. Okay, and the last one. 1, 2. Oh no. Okay, grabbing over top, grabbing that armpit, grab his bicep, lock him in. Okay, extend that hook, which isn't going to allow me to retract my own hook. If I don't extend the hook, I'm never going to be able to do it. So I extend that hook out, retract, push, 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 all the way over the side control, and I grab my own head and arm. And that's the push and retract method in a flattened head and arm overhook sweep. Thanks. Okay guys, in this video, we're gonna go over what to do when your opponent has you flattened out and they're looking for the head and arm choke, okay? So this time, he's got me flattened out, but he's decided that he's gonna bring his head to this side, okay? So now, when this happens, I'm going to take this elbow and try to weasel it in underneath his cheek. So I come through, and I'm gonna have to create a little bit of space here and come here, okay? So now you're gonna ask yourself, which grip do I have? And there's gonna be one that feels stronger. For me, it's my right palm facing upwards, okay? So now from here, I'm underneath his chin, okay? Which is actually it's very strong for performing the sweeping action, okay? This is a far side arm shoulder crunch, okay? So now I'm pinching him in here, and I'm gonna do the same push and retract method, okay? So now I start bringing him over, and as I come over, I'm twisting my body similar to the last sweep that we were in, okay? So I start extending that hook, okay? And I'm driving my elbow into his face, okay? And bringing this through, hopping up onto my foot and extending myself through, okay? Now, we're in a good position where we can start to attack this arm, okay? Because he's essentially putting himself into a shoulder crunch in this scenario. 1, 2, oh no, right? So now from here, if you don't have the butterfly hook, you can shrimp your way out and grab your butterfly hook here, okay? Now from here, I have to be very quick to get this in, okay? If he starts bringing his ear down to my tricep and cuts the corner quick enough, I could be in for a world of hurt. So as quick as I can, this comes through. Right palm facing up, okay? Extend that butterfly hook, out, retract, and coming through. And then from here, I'm gonna try to attack this arm. Okay? Oh no. Grabbing, okay, this comes through nice and quick. Grabbing my gable grip, extending my hook out, and make sure, guys, that this gable grip, you're pulling downwards. So you want his shoulder always glued to your chest, just like in the regular shoulder crunch series, okay? So I'm really pulling that down, okay? Then my ear is gonna be kind of on his forearm, okay? So I come here and I start coming this way, but I'm pulling down. Bringing that elbow up, extending that, retracting, coming to the far side, and then I'm gonna look for my attack, okay? Now, you guys can hit this if he's really looking to get this bicep to come through, okay? So a lot of time, guys are trying to pummel through and get this bicep around your head. If they do that, you can kind of let go here, and at the same time, you just extend this through, and right away, you're gonna go for the sweep. So I pin, right? This comes through, I extend that hook, and I come through. Guys, this pushing out of the butterfly hook and retracting is going to make your butterfly half guard so much more versatile. And these few sweeps that we just went over is really good that if your person gets the head and arm position. Likely, if a guy feels that you have your butterfly hook in, they're not going to go to head and arm because they know they're going to be swept right away. So if you're in half guard and they get to head and arm position, feel free to shrimp out, pummel your butterfly hook in, and then you can hit those sweeps a lot easier. Thank you.